How do we remember something as profound as the slave trade? How do we comprehend something that most of us have never lived through?
How do you think slavery has affected the modern society today?
I don't really know. I don't know how to answer that question. It's something I would say. Well, you've asked me a poser there. I'm not quite sure. It has affected in ways that certain generations would look at things possibly, but if you try and tell youngsters that now, they don't understand the meaning of it and they might take it the wrong way. They might sort of think, oh, it was a good idea. You don't know how different people would react. But other than that, I say that was a poser of a question. It's a very hard one to answer, even at my age.
Talking about the white people coming to Africa for slave trade, stuff like that, I think it was a barbaric thing to do then. Up till now, it's so barbaric, They shouldn't have taken the people's right without asking their permission, yeah? So that's what I think about it. I think they should still send the big apologies to Africa, to Latin America, to everywhere they've done slavery, yeah?
Ghana, Africa, was the point where many enslaved Africans began their harrowing journey across the Middle Passage and into a harsh, cruel life of bondage. The night is beautiful, so the faces of my people. The stars are beautiful, so the eyes of my people. Beautiful also is the sun. Beautiful also are the souls of my people.
Slavery, it means torture, it means suffering. It means degrading. When I hear the word slavery, it makes my blood boil.
Oppression and abolition of other race, equality. That's what it means.
Do you think that we know enough about slavery right now?
No, not a lot, because if you look into the truth, slavery is started by people being greedy and stuff. If you really look deep into it, slavery comes from within the own race, selling out the own race to other races, and that's where you got slavery from.
How do you think we should remember slavery?
I don't think you even should remember slavery, I think you should just put it in the past and just move on, because all it does is bring up bad memories and basically just strife. Because a lot of people say they're sorry, but really and truly they're not sorry, they're just saying it to actually remember the words which they've never lived. People in the past lived it, so ones in the future, they should just move on and leave it as it is.
Definitely not. I mean, if it wasn't for history, I doubt, and history and my own research, I doubt I would hardly know anything. And I think that people are kind of naive and ignorant. They don't want to learn unless you shove it at them. And I think that apart from Black History Month in October, if it wasn't for that, no one would know anything or even care. It's good what they're doing so far. I mean, we can't complain, but I think more needs to be done because, yeah, you have your usual presentations and stuff like that. But what about inviting people from different, say for example, slaves? For example, I know somebody whose grandfather was a slave. I mean, for people to come and talk and then share their experience and stuff like that, I think it would be more informative.
First world countries, this is made up of these slaves. Yeah. we built the slaves and the third world countries, which are now we call this so-called third world countries. They took all the treasures, all the wealths, and also the peoples. They made this, they built this country. I'd say, all these first world countries. I'd say simply say that.
You know, if you look at how the African continent is, things are really bad at the moment. And you think about the other side of the Atlantic, the people there, then you question yourself.
I think we should do more, and I think they took some, and there's now their turn to return them. They have to help reduce the poverty, main thing.
Britain gained enormously from the slave trade, and Britain was also the place where the abolitionist movement took hold. Through the efforts of Quakers and other Christian groups, politicians and activists, public support and ex-slaves, including Olado Equiano.
We became interested in Equiano because we understood that he made an outstanding contribution, to the abolition of the slave trade. And therefore we felt that it was important for us to remember him in the sense that he was outstanding, an activist in his time. He was the leading African of the day. In the late 18th century, he got together with some other people, with Granville Sharp, for example, who was a local English activist as well. And they both were involved in, I would say, campaigning for the rights of Africans. And his significance is great in the sense that he wrote a book called The Interesting Narrative. And that book became an outstanding, a bestseller. And that bestseller was able to convince people of the evil of the slave trade. In those days, Africans weren't supposed to write. They weren't allowed to write. They weren't allowed to read. They weren't allowed to do a lot of things that even now we take for granted. So that was an achievement.
Why do you think he should still be remembered?
Indeed, he must be remembered, I think, forever, in the sense that he stood out. In those days, Africans, as I said before, weren't supposed to do lots of things. They were supposed to remain dumb. And I think he showed that Africans of all times ought to be progressive, moving on, and just getting involved in society and changing it.
What kind of man do you reckon he was?
He was a man, I think, of great honesty and truthfulness. He loved people of all backgrounds, especially those who are suffering and are treated unjustly. A loving person, I'd say, and a person who would always stick up for the right.
How do you think his work he did in his time has contributed to today's society?
It's contributed in the sense that we know the details from reading his book. Especially, he writes about being in Montserrat. He writes about being in St. Kitts. He writes about being in America. He writes about being in Antigua. So here is an African who traveled the Caribbean, who knew what was going on at the time, about the injustices and the inhumanities to our people, our ancestors in the Caribbean. And he was able to expose all that wrongness done to them. And now we know that now. We wouldn't have known that otherwise, because there's hardly information to that extent in books that you read. It was Equiano who exposed it. And therefore, if he'd lived today, he'd still be exposing injustices that you find today, that our community is suffering.
Hello, my child. I have come here to the only known resting place of a member of my family, my orphan daughter, Joanna. I died when you were only 2, exhausted by my life's work, fighting against the injustice of slavery. I know, I paid a heavy price for freedom. My story is just one of many. I was, believe it or not, one of the lucky ones, for I managed to survive to tell my story. I traveled England telling these people of the horrors of slavery. This is my contribution to the struggle. I am known as Olado Equiano. Actually, I have another name, Gustavus Vessel. Why 2 names? For I was a slave. I was forced to change my name. I have seen many terrible injustices because of slavery. I have traveled to many places and met many people. I died here in London, but my final resting place is unknown. But here lies my daughter, my last known descendant.
When it was first discovered, we were just seeing this side. This is the Joanna Vassa side. That's got Joanna. So those of you who have good eyes, I'm sure you can see Joanna. Can you see Vassa?
Yes.
And that now it's done by Abney Park Cemetery Trust. It's good for it to be here in the sense that we have some memory, some authenticity, of this Gustavus Vassa the African. Equiano was a man of all time, a man, of his times, and we're remembering him now because he had almost been forgotten. Wilberforce is the one who has always been remembered as an abolitionist, but then he only stands really alongside Equiano. They were all abolitionists together. Granville Sharp and Clarkson, they were all equal in terms of what they were doing for the cause.
The end of the legal slave trade finally came on the 25th of March, 1807, with the passing of the Abolition of the Slave Trade Act. The Amistad, a small ship in service in the 1800s, will always be remembered best for being the location of a slave revolt. What took place on the ship and what happened to the slaves became an important focus for the abolitionist movement in the US. This ship that we see today is not the original Amistad, but it's almost an exact replica, which is being used in a transatlantic voyage. It's tracing and remembering the international landmarks of slavery. London is one of those landmarks.
Subdued and time lost are the drums, and yet through some vast mist of race there comes this song. I do not understand this song of atavistic land, or bitter yearnings lost. Without a place so long, so far away is Africa's face.
Sort of everywhere we're stopping has got some kind of history to do with the slave trade, and it's interesting for us as well because we're studying on board not only the story of the Amistad but kind of the histories of the ports we're going to, and so we'll go out into the museums or kind of look at the statues they've got in the street names and think about the way they're commemorating or not commemorating the slave trade and slavery.
Yeah, I was seasick for a while, but I've gotten used to it.
Have you been on a boat?
I've never been on a boat, a ship, anything. I haven't even ever been on a ferry. So
My goodness.
I'm not a water person. That's just not me.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from New York.
New York.
Yeah, we swim in the sea.
Wow.
We did that a couple of times. That's about it. We got watches and everything. People got to get up, watch the boat. So sometimes it's 6 hours, sometimes it's 4-hour watches.
Right, okay. And are you doing your studying?
Yep. Other than that, we doing ship work.
Yeah. Great experience though. I mean, have you enjoyed it? I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm. Your family's got to be really proud.
Yeah.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I got a letter from my grandmother today. She sent me a letter today. So I got it. She said she proud of me, you know, want me to keep it up. You know. I ain't getting made.
Yeah, I talk to my mother like every day, so she tell me how proud she is.
I think that the most important thing is not to forget. So any way that we can keep it in people's minds that it should never happen again, I think that's a good way of commemorating it.
People are going to still be grieved, yeah? You know, they're going to feel, no, they took us for granted, okay? They should say sorry. Now, when they say sorry, they should say sorry verbally, morally, emotionally, physically. You know, we should see, we should see the sorry. So I think the reparations being paid is the kind of sorry they're paying to the new generations or generations of people they've taken into slave trade.
To be honest, I disagree with that. I mean, it wasn't, say for example, it wasn't Tony Blair who went to Africa to go and steal us or something. It was hundreds of years ago. I mean, it has been abolished. Let's just leave it there. I mean, it's nice that they appreciate the fact that what they did was wrong or caused problems, but I think reparations is just, I think it's unnecessary.
Was there anything else you'd like to say or like to put forward?
Yes, indeed. I think it's important for me to say, that it is crucial that we remember the abolition of the slave trade, or the act. I know that there are lots of people who have been saying, well, why are we bothering about it? But we're bothering about it to remember, not to celebrate it, but to remember it. And to remember it to know what happened in the past to our ancestors. And in a sense, by knowing the past, we will know what to do for the future.
Thank you.
I love being black.
But yeah, anyway, we're here today for, Eastside Project. Black History Month, bang bang. Me personally, I think it should be Black History Year. All day, every day. All day, every day. But yeah,
hold tight, Olade Criano.
Yeah,
aka
big
Gustavus Vassus.
big guy, you know.
Hold tight his daughter as well, Joanna.
Yep, Joanne.
Hold tight me, hold tight as well.
Okay, I'm not gonna look at the camera. I'm probably gonna look off camera.
My name is Hamid and I've just been into the Keanu Museum in Birmingham. He fought to abolish slavery because he thought it was an inhumane act.